Hello, Defender Nation, and welcome back to another installment of Defender Giants. Today, we feature the Security Forces Group Commander at Joint Base Andrews, who has previously served as the Director, Washington Liaison Office for U.S. Africa Command, Branch Chief, Anti-Terrorism and Force Protection for the Homeland Defense Division, and is a recipient of the Defense Superior Service Medal, Bronze Star with Oak Leaf Cluster, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, and the Air Force Combat Action Medal. Today, our featured Defender Giant is Colonel Ian Dinesen.
Hey everyone, Ian Dinesen here. So I just want to say thanks to Mark for having me on. It's a great honor, and to be considered to even participate in this forum is exceptionally humbling. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started and talk about some of these tough questions. I was watching Colonel Springer's video on this, and I think he hit the nail on the head, where this is certainly a forum that we should have probably have had for a long time coming. And so thanks for setting this up.
Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be interviewed. Let's get started. Please tell us about a book or two that have impacted your life.
First off, if you haven't read Fighter Pilot, it's the memoir of Robin Olds, co-written by his daughter Christina. Not only is it a fascinating history of our Air Force, and a World War II ace, and ultimately the commander of the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing in Vietnam, and did some pretty incredible things over there. But the message in that book really that struck a chord with me is the leadership piece of it. Robin Olds is certainly a giant in his own right in our Air Force and our Air Force history, but his ability to collaborate teams and really push for excellence to ensure mission capability at the highest order is really what it's all about. He was about making sure his airmen were ready, they were equipped, and quite frankly, they were lethal. And that strikes me right now because of our push from General Goldfein, the Chief of Staff. In fact, today is his change of responsibility, so our soon-to-be previous Chief of Staff and his focus on the Year of the Defender and the Year of Integrated Base Defense about making us more lethal and more ready. In addition, Robin Olds is pretty well known, particularly in the fighter pilot community, about innovation. And he was not afraid to take risk, albeit very calculated, to ensure again, readiness and lethality. So that strikes me as something, and it's just a really cool read. It's just fun, kind of hearing about all of that. So kind of on the same note with innovation and history, I love the book Skunk Works by Ben Rich. So Skunk Works, it's like the name implies, is about the development of Lockheed's Skunk Works program and the development of, in particular, the U-2, the SR-71, and the F-117. So we're talking about the use of slide rule and old school just nugging through pencil and paper math to get some of the most combat capable reconnaissance assets that this planet has ever seen. And what I find very interesting about this is the politics behind all of this development, but just the grit that these scientists and these engineers and these test pilots put into getting these platforms capable for our national security. So it's that kind of innovation that inspires the hell out of me when I see that going on in my organization, wherever I'm at, with my young defenders, with those that are around me, because the innovation doesn't come from the old guys like me. It comes from the field, and it comes from those who have an idea, and that spark tank thing that our Air Force is doing, and the Spark XL, it's phenomenal. I love what we're doing, and we're getting innovative ideas at either low cost or rapid implementation, and that's coming from every walk of life and every grade and rank across our Air Force. So let's harness that, and let's take the message from this book as that innovation truly is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And then finally, just kind of in the spirit of ensuring, that we stay connected to our past, I love the book Unbroken by Laura Hillebrand. So if you haven't read this book, it's an easy read. It's a pretty phenomenal read. Of course, Angelina Jolie, produced the movie Unbroken, and it really kind of like or follows the first half of the book. But what the book goes on to do is not only just talk about perseverance through combat and through the main character's historically accurate, by the way, his strife in a Japanese internment camp. But moreover, what I found the best part of this book was the second half, because Louis Zamperini struggled. He struggled significantly following his time in this internment camp and his return to society. And these struggles, they're real. It's things that we as a career field are dealing with today, and we continue to deal with. So for those of you that I am connected with on Facebook, and I'm sure those of you that are around, there's the 22 push-up for 22-day challenge to raise awareness for veteran suicide right now, and it's kind of been going on and off for the last several years. Well, that's real, and that's kind of what this book really does for me. Is it keeps me grounded and connected to the realities of what's going on in our ranks, what's going on with our veterans, our comrades in arms, and those who have previously served. So just being able to have that connection and that humility and that humanity is important. It's important to me.
All right, sir, you gave some good book recommendations. For anyone taking notes, you gave us Fighter Pilot by Robin Olds, Skunk Works by Ben Rich, Unbroken by Laura Hildebrand. They sound like some interesting reads with some great information. Next question, sir. What is a favorite failure of yours, and what did you take away from it?
Here's what I'd offer to you. So let's rewind all the way back to the spring of 1998. So I was a cadet at Northern Arizona University's Air Force ROTC detachment, getting ready for my summer field training event. Okay, ROTC boot camp, let's call it. Let's be real here. But what it is I'm sitting there and getting ready for my open ranks inspection the next morning. And I'm getting my uniform tidy, I'm making sure that my ribbons are on straight, spacing is just, bang on, shoes polished, no core frames there, and just ready to rock and roll. Fresh haircut, nice shave that next morning, get up, man, I'm looking sharp. I love it, I'm ready to rock and roll. I get there, fall in, we do the open ranks. The detachment commander, an active duty lieutenant colonel, he's coming out and he's inspecting everybody, and man, he's just tearing everybody apart. This is wrong. You got lint here. Whatever the case may be. And he gets to me, looks me up and down, and eyeballs me, and he goes, "Perfect." And then he keeps walking on, and then he gets done. We close ranks, and he tells everybody, "All right, I expect a lot more out of all of you." And he goes, "Especially Ian Dinesen." And I was confused. So, of course, he saw the look on my face, and he said, "And I'm telling you this in front of everybody else." He goes, "You're the one that needs to work the most." He goes, "Yes, your uniform looks the best." And he goes, "But what you did is you failed your team. You didn't help out anybody in getting their shoes polished as nice as yours, or their uniform pressed as nice as yours, or their ribbons on straight like yours." And he goes, "And that's the whole point of this entire drill. It's about the teamwork aspect." And I'll tell you, as a young 20-year-old, that rocked my world. It was the first time I had ever been outed as being selfish. And quite frankly, I was. And that has stuck with me forever. And it's that teamwork piece about the break you down to build you up thing that we all learn at field training or boot camp or basic or wherever you came through. I hadn't yet gone, so that was a huge lesson for me, and it really helped me out when I went through my field training event, when I went through my tech school, when I got my commission, and everything thereafter, whether it's been levels of PME or quite frankly just being a supervisor, being a commander, being a peer to my fellow officers, and just being a defender all around. It's about that camaraderie and that teamwork, and we can't just go it alone. So big lesson to you all, I think, is don't be like me. Don't set yourself up for so much success that you're leaving everybody else behind, because that's ultimately my big failure, and one of those things that I will never forget.
Colonel, that's some great self-reflection right there. With EPRs and awards, a lot of people have said that the Air Force is turning into a Hunger Games amongst our ranks. If we have more selfless leaders who would learn this lesson early, I think it would be a really great thing for our Air Force and our defenders. Sir, next question. What advice would you give to a brand new officer or airman entering into our Air Force?
We all come into, this Air Force at whatever rank, and we're all at the bottom rung of that ladder, if you will. Whether we're a second lieutenant or an airman basic or whatever the case may be. And no matter where you go, that rung, that bottom rung is just as important as the top rung, because we all have to start somewhere. So the one thing I would offer is, no matter what your job, whether it's snacko or whether it is, you're a rope in tech school, or you're just somebody doing whatever job, that job is vital. It's critical, it's important, because you wouldn't be part of the team if it wasn't. So do it to the fullest of your extent and your capabilities. Try to exceed whatever standard was given to you. Make the campground better. There's euphemism after euphemism to kind of talk about these things. But at the end of the day, if you put your all into it, even if it's just mopping the floor, it's important, and it will reflect on your character. And that is what's going to get recognized. It's going to help propel you, but it's also going to help ensure that that pride that's instilled across the team and across the organization is there. So again, no job, no task is too menial to give it less than everything you've got, period. Because at the end of the day, you're going to go downrange someday, and you're going to be tasked to stand the watch, and it's going to be boring. And that 1 second of excitement or terror can define what's going to happen in the long term with everybody else's safety and security, or that installation's viability to produce combat power. So again, those menial tasks mean something. They all add up into readiness and lethality. And again, no matter how small it or demeaning it may seem, it's not. It's got importance and it's got value. So give it your all, give it your 100%, and you'll get recognized for it. So that's a good thing. It'll take care of you by taking care of others. Another piece of advice I might give is particularly for those of you that continue to grow and develop and become supervisors, should you decide you want to stay in that long, be the supervisor you wish you had when you were coming up. So bottom line, just do it better. We don't have time or energy to spend on those with a do as I say, not as I do kind of mentality. You've got to walk the walk and talk the talk and be that person that you wish you had as a supervisor.
Sir, I like that advice. We've all been there and been tasked with a job that we thought was beneath us. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just necessary to dig in and get the job done because it has to get done. Next question. What do you do when you start to feel overwhelmed or start to feel stressed?
I like to go on a bike ride. So it's pretty simple for me, whether it's an indoor bike ride. I took the time and invested in a Peloton. Love it. It gives me, the opportunity to have a lot of different kinds of classes on demand, 24/7. I don't have to wait for the gym to open. But what I really like doing is, I'm an avid mountain biker, and I get outside, get some fresh air, get on the fresh trail, and what that helps me do is it helps me recenter. I get the opportunity to go out, and visit nature, and just be out there with my thoughts. But moreover, getting on the bike really helps me, focus at the task at hand. And I just am able to kind of shed everything else. I'm able to, let everything else kind of go because I have to focus on, controlling, my bike and controlling me so I don't fall off and get injured or wreck my bike or anything else. So it's a good opportunity for my mind, quite frankly, to, for lack of a better term, I think defrag itself, kind of like a hard drive. It cleans itself out and it reorganizes itself, and which is, once my mind is able to do that, I find that I'm much more calm after I get that good bit of exercise in, and I'm able to focus on kind of like that specific task at hand. Everything else just kind of falls into place and becomes much more clear. My wife says I'm much happier every time I come back from a mountain bike ride, or I get off the Peloton or whatever, because I've taken those stressors and just kind of melted them away. So, find whatever that is for you. For me, that's just happens to be what it is. It took me quite a long time to kind of figure out that that's one of the things that really made me happy. I used to go for drives by myself, but here in the National Capital Region, driving can sometimes just be a little bit more frustrating than anything else on the planet. So, depending on where you're at, you're going to need to find something that really kind of helps focus you and doesn't actually add to the stress or add to the temper or anything else. So, again, for me, it's just being able to get out on the trail, see some nature, and quite frankly, get some good exercise in at the same time. So, that's a pretty awesome thing. You get that adrenaline boost. It's just a good time. So,
great advice, sir. Working on physical fitness on your bike rides. Next question. With all the hot topic societal issues that are going on around our country, what advice would you give to our defenders out there performing law enforcement duties?
Yeah, so one of the things that Mark, thanks for asking me to talk about some other things that are kind of going on with respect to our job as law enforcement officers and how we kind of can deal with people better. Well, so I'll rewind back to my last year in college. So I'm an ROTC graduate from Northern Arizona University, Air Force ROTC Detachment 027, home of the Highlanders, and go Lumberjacks, cool. In my last year of school, I was actually employed by Coconino County Sheriff's Office as a detention officer for the county jail there. And what was really neat about that opportunity is one, it helped me, kind of see a different side of what I was studying in my criminal justice undergrad program. But I think, moreover, what it really allowed me to do is figure out how to interact with people at the most basic level. Because when somebody gets arrested, we all know it as defenders, it's not their greatest moment. They can be at the ultimate low, if you will, at that point of being. But sometimes just a common respect for their dignity and just a recognition that they're a human being as well is all it took to get somebody to calm down, to be compliant, and to just let me do my job as a detention officer. I really learned how to be de-escalatory in situations, so that verbal judo that we talk about, and not have to use any force that wasn't necessary, and not have to, embarrass people any more than they already were. Like I said, they're already at their ultimate low oftentimes. It can be incredibly demeaning to be paraded around in front of somebody, as you can certainly imagine. So, kind of having that recognition of just humanity and humility, just in its most basic form, is something that has kind of I've tried to carry on, for a long, long time. One of the other pieces that I would offer as well is, as LEOs, we always have to make sure that we're ready for the unexpected. So I'm not saying don't, be ready for that, because, sometimes bad guys, they want to lull us into a false sense of security. However, I would offer that, of the, who knows how many hundreds of people that I encountered, only in my 1 year on that job, the incredibly overwhelming majority were just people having a really, really bad day. And just showing that, we're humans too, can go a long, long way in just ensuring that, we treat each other with dignity and respect. And I think that that's the bottom line of everything is, we've got to do that for each other. Period. Dot. It doesn't matter what our rank is, where we come from, what our family situation is or was or will be, the color of our skin, our religion, our gender, none of that ultimately, should be the factor in how we treat people. It's all about dignity and respect across the board. We're living, breathing human beings. So that's what we have to go in with as our baseline, period, dot. We have to be able to uphold our values as law enforcement officers, and our values as airmen, to treat everybody exactly the same. So, that consistency, that courtesy, just that dignity and respect should be the underpinning of everything that we do, in and out of uniform. So that's just kind of one of those things, from my past and my history that kind of shaped, what drew me into this career field, and what's drawn me to stay in this career field. I really love that. I really love the interaction that I'm able to have with people, and even sometimes in their worst situations, show them that maybe that if not necessarily a silver lining, that it's not the end of the world. That things can get better. So we're all in this world together. So let's make it a positive place.
Well, I really love your perspective on this topic. One thing you said that was really impactful was that we need to realize that the people that we're dealing with, the people that we just arrested, they're probably at their rock bottom in life, and we still need to treat them as a human being with dignity and respect. So I really like that. Sir, floor is yours for your closing thoughts.
So a couple of things that I might leave everybody with is, all of us joined, the military for a reason. And it doesn't matter what that reason, is or what that reason was. It's unique, and having that shared perspective across the organization, across the career field, across our Air Force, is what makes us so powerful. It's what makes us so ready and so lethal. It drives innovation, it drives that teamwork piece of it, and everybody and their reasoning and their perspectives has to be valued. But over time, too, those of us that decide to stay in the military, the reasons why we stay can be wildly different than the reasons by which we joined. So we have to recognize that, as we evolve individually, those around us are evolving as well. So having that toolbox of different leadership styles and different things that can lead and develop and grow a team to be successful, we've got to be adaptable. We've got to be ready for change, and we've got to be able to recognize that people's perspectives do change. But it doesn't make those perspectives any less valuable. In fact, that can make their perspectives that much more valuable. Because as someone's perspectives might change on why they decide that, hey, maybe this military thing just isn't for me. Okay, why? Was there a defining moment, or hey, maybe they just decided that it really wasn't what they wanted, but they're still having a great time with it. That's valuable feedback. So never underestimate and never devalue, the perspective that everybody brings to the fight. It's imperative that we continue to synthesize that and put that at the core of what we do as leaders at all levels. And just remember that everybody that wears a uniform is a leader. The other part that I would leave you with is, a lot of folks, talk about leadership, and the first, lesson to being a good leader is being a good follower. That's absolutely true. But what I would also offer is leadership and followership are like the two slices of bread. Teamwork is the peanut butter that makes it a sandwich. And it's that peanut butter, that binds leaders and followers. And then, depending on where you're at, the top slice or the bottom slice, can determine if you're in a leadership or a followership position at that time. But at the end of the day, in order to have a leader, you have to have a follower. And, in order to have both of those, it takes a team. So never forget that no matter where you're at, everybody requires everybody else. So we've got to do this all together. And I think the last thing that I would leave you with is having that ability to, again, maintain that perspective that everybody's opinions and views, matter, and ultimately create and sustain the team. Our values are ultimately what's at stake if we don't do that. And we can never, ever risk our values. Make sure that those values are at the top of everything you do. Live them in and out of uniform, and demand that everybody else around you do the same. value what they bring to the fight, value the perspectives that they share, value who they are as a human being, because that's what makes us ready, that's what makes us lethal. And if we let those values slip by the wayside, ultimately what we're doing is we're weakening our lethality and readiness as defenders, which ultimately, of course, leads to a weakening of our national security and what we hold dear as a nation. So be there for each other. Yesterday I had the distinct opportunity to witness the Chief of Staff of the Air Force transition ceremony, where CSAF 21, General Goldfein, relinquished his responsibility to CSAF 22, General C.Q. Brown. What an amazing, incredible opportunity that I was able to witness. But what was really, really cool about it that struck me is that as that whole thing was going on and it was flawlessly executed, there were defenders all over this installation that were guarding aircraft, that were providing our concentric rings of integrated defense, the close-in and point security, route security, traffic control points. And they were all out there with a smile on their face. It had just rained really hard earlier in the morning, so it was really humid. The sun started to peek out, so it really started to bake outside a little bit, but everybody was happy. I got a ton of steps in yesterday going out and visiting these amazing folks, and just hearing their stories of where they're from and why they serve, and what they find the coolest aspects of their job gets to be, and to a T, every single one of them was happy they were there, and it's incredible. It's awe-inspiring to be able to go out and meet people and get a taste of what they're doing. So I just leave you with the historic moment that we had yesterday, that I was just so lucky again to witness. Our Air Force is in great hands, and those leaders that are at the very top, they truly do care about what's going on, because they know that we've got their back. We as the defenders make sure that we enable every other mission on an Air Force installation, because without the blanket of protection that we're able to provide in our gated communities that we call Air Force bases and Air Force installations, they can't do their jobs unimpeded. So with that, just know that sometimes it becomes a thankless job, and we oftentimes get forgotten about, while we're out there posted or standing the watch 24/7. But know that our senior leaders do appreciate what we do. They care about what we do, because again, it enables everything that they can do for us and that they are doing for us.
Colonel Dinesen, outstanding interview, sir. I greatly enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you for taking the time for our defenders out here. And finally, thanks to our defenders posted out who have the watch. Here is one last message from Colonel Dinesen.
Hey, so the last thing I want to do is I want to just say thanks to Senior Velasquez for working this and for the invite. What an incredible, incredible platform that you're doing for Defender Giants. Because at the end of the day, even though I'm lucky enough to be and honored and blessed enough to be able to be part of this, so thank you. It's not about I think the individuals that you're interviewing. It's about everybody else in the career field and in our Air Force that makes this possible. So the true giants are the ones that we are lucky enough to serve with and for, which is everybody in the field and everybody in our organizations and our staffs and our headquarters that make this career field possible, and really are the ones that deserve all the credit. So much love. Thank you guys. Defensor Fortis, and keep it up. Cool.